I put a sock over my mic. Do you hear the difference? Do I sound sultry? Now it's time for some smooth jazz and our own Sleepless in Seattle moment. Anyways, now it's time for our tinfoil base, which we roughly mold into the shape we need and cover with clay using my favorite method of folding the clay like a wonton and snipping off the excess. I'm starting off with the abdomen, which is the only part that needs tinfoil, and molding it into a sweet teardrop shape. That's the second thing that I quite enjoyed about the spider, with the first being the obvious. It appears to have a teardrop shape from the top view, and I couldn't really find a picture of it sideways, so I just made it teardrop shaped all the way down. After gaining the foresight to scroll slightly past the first results on Google Images, I found photos of the side profile. But that's a win for later on in this video. Onto the Thor head. The spider's head and thorax are one and the same, so I'll be nicknaming it Thor head. The first iteration of the head was a teeny bit too triangular, but still not a half bad first attempt. I rolled that out and whipped out my range of ball tools to give her 8 eyes of questionable usage and 2 large front indents for her colisere, which is her mouthpiece. Did I make the colisere too small? I don't know. Let's pretend anything bigger would hurt. Now that those are on, and I'm still under the pretty delusion that this is the first and final head I would be making today, I get a little artsy, I get a little creative with my tools. I draw a smooth line, for reasons unbeknownst to me, and give her 4 more indents on each side to be her supporting leg joints. Aren't I ambitious, guys? Don't you just love that about me? It won't bite me in the ass later. Yeesh. The shape of that Thor head is so off base, but I don't keep it anyway. My bugs lately have been playing with me like a tax return. I'd say that for the next one I'll take a breather and make a beetle or something, but I have a very exciting collab planned for the next video, and I already know that bug will either be my biggest dub or my biggest L. YOLO! So, the joints are on and I'm swooshing down the bottoms, careful to have a nice row of smooth round indents, which is an aesthetic choice that is nothing close to how a spider's underside actually looks and ends up being a trypophobia trigger in the end result. The amount of work I put into this first head almost makes me laugh, knowing how the Thor head ends up looking in the end. I not only used the ball tool to create a nice round divot in the joints, but I also went the extra step of poking holes into it for the wire. Wow. I even add little handsome Squidward cheekbones around the eyes. It works in theory, guys. It really does. I throw the head into the oven and get to work on the legs, using a stand-in piece of clay for the Thor head. The legs on this gal are just magnificent. I almost wanted to engage with the transparent clay, but I knew the wires would show through and ruin the effect. If I could get the effect to work. But anyways, look at this. I stole this idea from Kenji over at Life of Clay to wrap the wires with thread so that the clay actually has something to hold on to. The #1 issue with making long legs like this is that the wire makes the clay jump right into its rebellious teenage phase, as it refuses to stay on, keeps sliding off the wire, and leaves me no choice but to make the legs on my arachnids much chunkier than I would like. So, one day, I'll get you to respond to my DMs for a collab, Kenji. Moving on. You see? Look how easy that is. The clay doesn't even budge. It's insane. I was able to make these legs so thin. I love it. It makes me want to make another spider soon, so if you have a spider suggestion, let me know in the comments. Speaking of comments, the winner of my poll was a 3-way tie, so I thought this spider was a good combo of sunny summer spider and mysterious resin creature. But back to the legs. To get them even thinner, I snip them with my beauty scissors and pinch the ends into a graceful point. They look so good. For my next arachnid, I'll choose one with even thinner legs, so I can geek out over that. Now we just do that 7 more times and we have a lovely set. Okay, so here's the sideways views I was talking about, which shows that the side is actually a more triangular shape than I originally thought. So while the legs were baking, I got to work snipping away my original abdomen into something more canon than fanon. I usually work on these over the course of a few days, but for this one I thugged it out and started it one night, but spent the next day, aka my day off, completing the spider in 13 hours straight. So, applause for the big baller, which is me. And when I say I worked on this part while the other part was baking, boy, do I mean it. It doesn't look exactly like the reference photo, and in some reference photos it looks more conical, but I just really wanted to keep that teardrop in place. And also the spider in general is the farthest I've ever strayed from how something looks in real life ever, so who really cares? Yippee! Yay, yippee! I love this part. This part was so fun. I loved carving these mirror pieces. It tickled my Jimmy so much. I make another aesthetic choice here to make the mirror pieces not smooth. I know, crazy. But I liked it rough and rocky. Let me know in the comments if you think it would have looked better if it was completely smooth or if I should kick rocks. The legs are done. I celebrated by getting ahead of myself and gluing the Thor head to the abdomen with some two-part epoxy glue. Part of me thinks I should have made the abdomen bigger, but that might be the demons talking. While the spider dries, I sand its legs. Crazy, right? I'm usually too lazy to sand, but I was obsessed with these legs. I wanted them to look as perfect as possible. Don't worry about the exposed wire there, by the way, because it was sanded down perfectly and won't show when painted. Ooh, attaching the legs was a crash out waiting to happen because off rip, the legs were not wanting to stay in the holes I carved out for them because they were too small. And the ankle wasn't great either, hence why I tried bending the wire a bit, but that risked breaking or cracking these perfectly made legs. So I gave up on that and tried whittling the legs down a bit with some scissors to expose some more wire and therefore make some more bending room, which kind of worked. It definitely stayed in better now, but, and wait, I know, not me trying to glue the legs in, when I know time and time again that makes the legs melt. But guys, I truly thought that since I'm attaching the hardened wire to the hardened clay, technically, instead of soft clay on the malleable glue, that I could pull it off. It's not like the L I usually take where I wrap the clay around the part that I glued. Sue me for reaching for the stars. Also, don't use the super glue on top of rubber because it will stick. Whoopsies. See, I covered it with clay, scraped off that piece of eraser off camera, and sent it to bake. And it fell apart, not fully, just the back two legs, because those had the most exposed wire, aka the most wire that could not fit snug like a bug in a rug, aka the leg that I had to use the most glue and clay on. There were also cracks on one or two of the other legs, but I wasn't tripping over that, so I filled it with more clay like I do every time one of my bugs crack. As you can see, my big brain Jimmy Neutron brain blast ass idea was to do the exact same thing as before and somehow expect it not to fall apart again. Yes, I got more of the wire to go in from before, but come on! I thought I could negate my own foolishness by giving it a tinfoil support, but it loosened all of them. It loosened half the leg inventory, so they fell right off. So it was around here that I decided to take my brother on a McDonald's run and do my best not to stress dissociate. And when I came back, I knew I had to start fresh. I had to rip off all the legs, all the joints, whittle it smooth with my X-Acto knife, and start over. Continuing on with the whole starting fresh thing, I cut down all the legs again with wire cutters. Not only to expose a clean and even amount of wire, but also to get rid of the jagged edges of the clay when I disarticulated the legs. I had to speed this up for all of our sakes and mental well-beings. I'm sure you understand. I went through a ridiculous range of thought processes, where each iteration I came up with looked stupider than the last one, and I was just in denial about how ridiculous this sweet girl was starting to look. I went from giving her a newer, sturdier set of joints, to scraping that out of fear that giving her these awful sausage sidebird things that I thought, okay, well at least these will definitely support the legs. And then I gave up on those as well and decided, okay, well I just need to give her even fatter sausage sidebirds, which obviously is another delusion created from fear. And then I thought, okay, I can make this look not like an awful bastardizing trash if I give her a fresh lineup, you know? Scrape some excess, get rid of the edges, make straight lines, talk yourself off the cliff, you get it. But even I, a woman who has mastered walking the line between practical self-possession and hubris-driven delusion, must sometimes concede when the strong hands of reality twist my arms behind my back with the smoothing coo of a newly made mother. So, I let go. I got rid of both of the steaming shitheads and instead streamlined the design by just shoving the legs into a mound of clay and making my peace with that. I obviously didn't want the underside to look completely crass, as you can tell by the beseeching way I'm waving my hands around here, so I did whittle it down a lot, and off camera I made a separate top piece to cover the bottom piece, sort of sandwiching the legs in, and finally I could put this behind me. That was a doozy, but at least the spider follows in the line of every arachnid I make, convincing me that maybe I should pick up smoking. Also, I hate this banana yellow color. I hope you do too. At the time, I thought it was such a slay, but it looks so ridiculous on the finished bug. For the first time in Enso Clay history, once the bug is complete, I will sand off not just this ridiculously incongruous banana color, but also the abdomen. But you'll see why later. Side note, every time you've seen me glue the two pieces of the spider together, I end up ripping it apart not even a minute later, which is kind of funny. These are the reference photos, by the way, that I was going off of, which further add to the big question mark that is, how in the world did I end up with banana yellow? Just know that when I repaint it, I'll probably use the same tan that I originally used for the abdomen, but put gold dust on the top because, I don't know, why not? You all know that I love me a good gradient. As you can see in the background, I do this by dipping one corner of my paintbrush into the yellow, then the other corner into the brown, swiping the excess a bit, then painting directly onto the spider. Accentuating the joints makes such a difference. I clean up any small edges in the joints with a healthy balance of the yellow, and while I'm going crazy with the gradients, let me use this as a brief intermission where I show you how big this spider is in real life. Take your guess. Got it? You go, you little baby, you go, she's so cute, baby. The male mirror spider grows to be 3 millimeters long, but the female grows to a whopping 4 millimeters long. They're an Aussie spider, and it seems that their size combined with the mirror effect is an evolutionary thing to allow them to camouflage as a dewdrop. Isn't that just precious? Ugh. Moving on, the eyes on their outer corner look more like smudges, which I tried to replicate, but I made the eyes look asymmetrical and I didn't need another potential crash out. So I smudged more of the eyes than necessary and made my peace with that very quickly. You see what I mean when I said that the underside is a trypophobia trigger? Gross. Yay! Yippee! Yay! Finally painted the mirror portion. I'm using my metallic paints to essentially just follow the color scheme of the mirror spider, where the colors towards the middle follow the conventional rainbow, and when we reach over to the sides, I'll dissipate into icy blues and silvers. The tan follows the true abdomen of the mirror spider, but in the end, for my artistic purposes, I felt that it would be better to paint the abdomen a darker shade of brown so that the metallics could pop more. Perhaps this wouldn't have been an issue if I had less space between the mirror pieces, but alas. We're almost at the end, so I'm going to tell you something insane. The substance that the spider produces to give it the mirror effect is called guanine, and it's the same thing that gives rainbow fish his bright reflective scale. The insane part, which is so insane to me that it borders on nightmarish by the way, is that the mirror spider can change the size of these on command like this. Yeah, very uncomfortable watch. But for real, Nicky Bay, you are so super cool for being able to capture this on camera. Like, you're insanely sick for that. Okay, well, on that note, we've reached the glazing portion of the video, signifying the near end, so I believe some thanks are in order. Thank you so much for watching this so far. I appreciate you all so dearly. If you made it this far and you're not subscribed, stop being a masochist and just subscribe, please. We're so close to 5,000 subs, by the way. And also follow me on socials to keep up with my bug polls and my silly little clips that I'll start posting soon. And don't forget to comment below a name for our pretty girl. And that is all. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope to see you for the next one. Okay, bye. Okay, here's me after painting the abdomen again and glazing it with resin instead of regular glaze so it's even shinier. Okay, bye.